The following is a special presentation of the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Welcome to Tough Enough, a recap and breakdown show from the MMA Outsiders, following every episode of The Ultimate Fighter Season 32. Team Grasso versus Team Shevchenko, presented by Playback. And now, here are your hosts, Tom Albano and Zain Bando.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Tough Enough. Zan, we've only got 2 shows left. It's hard to believe, but here we are. We're on the homeward stretch, and now each weight class has one representative each in their finales fight so far, and we'll get to see over the next 2 weeks, what the card officially looks like. As Marcel kind of alluded to, the plan right now is the tough fights will happen on August 24th. We'll see what the hell even happens with that August 24th card as of the time we're talking about this, but I mean, Zan, it should be a good ending to the season, and a lot of drama this week for a short amount of time in the cage.
Yeah, a lot of drama this week for sure. And I've said it the last couple of weeks. It's been really, really good to do this season with you. I think this show has finally found its legs from our original idea, and it's cool to know that there are tons of people that rely on us every single week to do these recaps, either for those of you that have seen the episode and just want to hear our thoughts on it, or literally using us as a vehicle to follow the season in their own fashion. We just wanted to quickly thank you guys for all of your support, as we only have a couple of episodes left to go. But to get back to your original question, yeah, very, very packed episode. A lot of action in it, a very short fight, a lot to break down, a lot of stakes, a potential shake-up in the bracket next week based on how the beginning of the episode played out, which we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, definitely a lot of exciting things to look forward to, and I still cannot believe that we're only a couple episodes away from the live finale, and I still can't believe that these coaches will fight before Tough 31's coaches. But that's another that's
if Tough 31's coaches ever actually fight.
For sure.
But don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube home at youtube.com/ETB Network, where this is being streamed out. This show is, of course, also being streamed out on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network's social media pages, as well as the social media pages of actually your other show, Bando's Breakdowns. We could have more social media pages that it gets streamed out to, but of course, Elon's going to Elon, and Elon's effects on X is starting to be seen throughout the MMA sphere, but nevertheless, so make sure to follow us on at MMA Outsiders ETB on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Same for the network at ETB Network. Again, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to listen to our main show, the MMA Outsiders, wherever you get your podcasts, Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so much more. Go to etbpodcast.com for more information about the network and more content from the network, including a bunch of blogs that Zain and Grant from Grant's Green Day are pushing out, because obviously football season is on its way. So obviously we'll have a ton of fun with that. And then, of course, we would be remiss if we did not mention that Tough Enough, the Ultimate Fighter, Team Grasso versus Team Shevchenko Aftermath is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, ripping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. So join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And as I alluded to with Pat Dana on this the episode of the MMA Outsiders that just released today, we are going to have a fight study next week at some point with UFC 305 next weekend. So be on the
Yes,
lookout for that.
yes, and I'm looking forward to actually being for this time. I won't let you guys down, considering that your favorite fighter, even though sometimes you don't like to admit it, is going to be competing in the main event. So
It's Dricus Duplessis, and it's an incredible main event against Israel Adesanya with a lot of tension there. So I'm kind of really looking forward to it.
Tom, to be fair, it is the most excited I've been for a UFC fight since McGregor Diaz 2. So if that doesn't tell you how excited I am for it, then I don't know what does. So
Yeah. Well, that is then. Let's talk about the now. Let's talk about TUF because the TUF finale fights are coming up. But if
no,
you're following this,
no offense, Tom, but we're talking about potential TUF finale fights where you're wearing a one championship shirt. What is that? What is that supposed to mean?
I can't wear a one championship. It's Johnson Marias 3.
Okay, that's fair. You're paying homage to the goat. I understand. I
Yes, I'm paying
understand.
homage to the flyweight goat.
I understand. Hey, that's me. I have that same shirt too. I was just giving you a hard time.
I
So
know. Oh, speaking of giving a hard time, I'm very worried the athletic commission in the state of Nevada and their wonderful expertise is going to throw a wrench into the plan of the finale fights because part of the show revolved around Zigmantas Ramaska, Zig as I like to call him. He was receiving checks throughout this episode at the very beginning from a facial doctor that the UFC knows, and as well as the UFC's head physician. Apparently Zig suffered some sort of small fracture, like right here, not on the jaw, but like in that area, like right above the jaw,
yeah,
somewhere along
very
the
a,
cheekbone.
a very slight abrasion, if you will.
But the fracture, according to both physicians, did not seem bad enough that Zig would have to be pulled from competition. He's supposed to fight not next week's episode, but the last episode, episode 12, taking on Myron Santos, who will face the winner of the fight we're going to discuss from tonight's episode. But apparently, according to the UFC head physician, the Nevada State Athletic Commission may want one more test. Zig says there's a 95% chance he's going to get cleared and the fight with Santos will be on. But Zan, I can't help but hear Nevada Athletic Commission and all of this situation without thinking something might go awry here.
Yeah, I mean, given past history of the Nevada State Athletic Commission making decisions that are not in best interest to the fighters, if I would even begin to go through them, we'd be here all day. But our point in saying it is you can never say never with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And to hear the emotion in Ramaska's voice, saying that there's still that 5% in the back of his head was a little bit alarming, to say the least. So
yeah, very alarming, especially considering this is a show, as we kind of alluded to, that gets taped, that gets, you have the confessionals and put in production. Like, would they throw something? I mean, they would throw stuff like this in there, for a little drama's sake. But the fact that they want the one more test and he's going to go in front of the commission for it, like, that's the
so
concerning part.
so I have to ask you, and obviously we don't know. We're going to be the first to admit it that we don't have enough knowledge on this stuff to make a fully educated guess on
No,
what
but I
his
will. Sorry,
on
Zane, to interrupt, but I will say this: if a physician outside of the UFC, a facial doctor, is clearing him, and the UFC's head physician is clearing him, I don't see why the Nevada Athletic Commission would have a protest to anything.
well, that was going to be my next question. Do you think ultimately Zig gets cleared to compete? What do
He
you? What do
better,
you?
considering what we heard from today's episode, he better.
Yeah, think so. I think so too.
I think if
Because
he doesn't, that's wrong.
not only is it disrespectful to him, it discounts what the tournament final should have been.
Mm-hmm.
So
And so we'll talk about tonight's fight tonight, obviously, but focusing just on Zig. I mean, it would kind of be highway robbery, especially because Ramaska versus Santos sounds like a hell of a semifinal bout. But and we would probably get robbed, just like how Ramaska would get robbed of the chance to have a six-figure contract, and it would bring up questions about who would be the fill-in, because
yeah,
let's say Ramaska's out. then the only two people, if they go by teams, Myron Santos faced Edwin Cooper Jr. in the first round. So they would have to either go with a rematch there, which I don't think people want, or Nathan Fletcher would get a second chance.
I think Fletcher is the most logical considering how underwhelming Cooper was in his fight. So
Yeah, I agree. Plus, obviously, Team Grasso has two more fighters who would be on standby for that, which would be Beck and Torres. But are you really going to let Team Shevchenko's are you really going to let a Team Shevchenko season at featherweight end because of this kind of injury?
I don't think Valentina would want that.
No, I don't think that would be fair to anybody because Ramaska, like, he and Beck had a war. Like, if this was a concern weeks ago, or if the facial doctor said something, okay, then you got to go with what the doctor says, and you can't. Yeah,
but to wait this late into the season where we're almost to the finale, literally,
when both the the third party facial doctor and the UFC head physician have cleared, like that wouldn't make any sense.
No, it wouldn't. But obviously, for whatever their reasons are, NSAC has to do their due diligence. The only thing that we would want to see as outsiders, hence the name of this show, is that is that NSAC does the right thing and clears him to compete. So
hopefully, it's just a little unnecessary drama.
Oh, I'm sure that if he was not cleared to compete, I'm sure that Dana would have something to say about it.
Yeah.
I think Dana and UFC brass would be very disappointed if that was the just given that their vibe this season seems to be that they want to see everybody compete that can compete. So,
yep. All right. Speaking of competition, let's go to the coaches competing. This is the coaches challenge. They did a basketball shootout. Now, Zain, unfortunately, it wasn't horse. It wasn't around the world. I mean, it was around the world elements, but
yeah, but this is okay. This is what I didn't like about the competition. First off, I understand that there were spots for 1, 2, and 3 pointers, but in my opinion, every period should have been a different rule set. It's because it's only fair. Obviously, we're going to get into why I believe that personally in a second. I don't know what you think, but I think
I wish they used more of the floor, but that might have just been Valentina and Grasso's, well, let's call it for what it is, man. Lack of basketball skills.
Yeah. These two are professional badasses at the very least. I don't think they really need to be worried about if they can shoot a basketball or not. But it was fun though.
It was fun. It was kind of funny watching them just consistently throw up. I'm gonna take something from the playback streams. They were brick houses during that first first period.
No, they were. I was surprised though. I was surprised given that Valentina had allegedly taken 12 years off. I was surprised she won. Were you?
A little bit, but we didn't hear anything about Grasso's background with basketball. Although Shevchenko, she won, but Dana you could kind of see what Dana it was just such a troll strategy. Just standing in front of the basket as could be 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point.
Yeah. That's why I was saying they would have mixed up the rules where period 1 was 1 point was allowed, period 2 was 2, period 3 was 3. It could have been a lot more competitive than what it was.
I was just wondering, I'm wondering when one of these women were going to take the chance and shoot a 3, shoot from beyond the arc. But I'm like, if they're struggling so close to the glass, would I really want that to happen?
No, I was just waiting for Kelsey Plum to go out there and cheat for one of them.
Kelsey Plum just, you know what? Screw the both of you. Let me show you how it's done, and just hit layup and after layup.
back to back WNBA champion or something like that.
Right, she is. The Las Vegas Aces are the back-to-back WNBA champs for a reason. Right, but I mean, this was fun. Shevchenko wins. She gets the $10,000. All her team gets 2,000. And the sick part is, it doesn't end here. It doesn't end with the basketball competition.
No, it doesn't. And what's funny before we get into this, what's even funnier about this is that I went back and did some digging, and it seems like there's like a above 50% success rate of whoever wins the coaches challenge wins the eventual fight. So you never you never know. So
I never
I'm just
realized that. That's interesting.
I'm just saying, if you go back and do your deep research from, I think, about season 4 or 5 is when they really started doing it. The coach who usually wins the coaches challenge usually does pretty well later on when the coaches actually fight. So
Yeah. But tensions ended up boiling over after. It looked like everything was good. And what sucks then is last week I talked about how everybody, was so cool with one another and everything seemed so nice, and how great this season was. And then all of a sudden it's a basketball competition where it's the coaches, not the fighters who are playing, where everything seems to boil over. So Robert Valentin makes some sort of comment. He made some sort of remark to Team Shevchenko's bench of, oh, well, you know what? If you're a basketball team, well, we're the fighters. We win the fights. And one of the it looked like one of yeah, that's what it was. And then one of Valentina's coaches, not even any of the fighters, one of the coaches came up to Robert and was like, "Shut your bleeping mouth."
yeah, definitely weird. Definitely a lot of interesting tensions. With guys who, weren't the star of the segment. It was the coaches, and if that added any more bad blood to the trilogy fight, I think you have your answer. So, yeah, they'll probably end up building that into promo packages now. I bet, or something weird like that.
Maybe. Can you talk about the discovery that you had when you were watching the episode?
I'm trying to remember what I discovered
About what the comment the comment the coach made of, I don't want to do this.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if I made it out correctly, but Valentina's coach comes in and goes, "I don't want to be on the show. I don't want to be in the show." And it's like, dude, you just came into the camera shot. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, because usually when something weird like that happens, they'll cut to like a still shot of one of the coaches explaining what was going. We got nothing about that.
No, that was so awkward. Like, it just, hey, buddy, you're getting involved in a mess. Probably the main mess of TUF so far. Obviously, you're gonna be featured on the show, so congratulations there.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe I misheard it, but it was something just bizarre. Like, dude, how do you not know that?
Yeah, no, it was really bizarre. Um, but it was just really bizarre that a joke by Valentine sets off everything.
Well, just like what's his name, David Tamer on
Oh,
the yeah.
let's move on because I don't want to talk about David Tamer. This is tough.
No, I know. Oh, that's the first thing that reminded me of, though, when I saw that. I'm like, wait, how did this even start?
I don't know.
I
I
don't know
I
either.
find it so weird. All I know is all I know is imagine Robert knocks out Patty next week, and then after the fight, he points to the coach, says, "That's for you."
No, he very well. Oh, it could be reminiscent of when Efren Escudero beat Junie Brown. He rubbed it into Team Mirror's face afterward.
All right, going on now off of that to an emotional family call. So obviously the family calls happen during the semifinals, and Rhodey, I mean, man, did I feel like he has such a connection with his parents. And we talked about his upbringing, when we first had Rhodey, because I think Rhodey was in the first episode. He was the very first fight of this season.
Right. And he was the
So
number 1 overall pick for Shevchenko too.
yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of high expectations on him, strong background. the dad was always in the corner. The dad obviously couldn't be in the corner here, and man, seeing him cry was heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, heartbreaking. Number one and number two, it like just made you want to root. It made you want to root for him so bad. Like
I know.
like it made you want to. It made you want to see that dream be realized, and it was definitely out of and I've been so excited to say it, so I'm excited to say it right now. Out of all the calls home since they started letting it happen, this was my favorite call. This
Yeah,
is this is a- this is a really good call.
it was really emotional and really sweet to see. Uh Khan, on the other hand, I mean, two shows in a row where one of the fighters, their family member, like last week it was Ryan Loder's dad. This week it was Khan's wife who was doing the breakdown, watching film on film on the opponent. In this case, Rody. Like these families, some of these families are just really dedicated to helping their guys out with their dream, and
Oh,
this
it's
was
awesome.
actually kind of awesome to see.
And it was really awesome to see number one and number two. You could tell that Khan has a tremendous support system, and when you have a wife, a partner, a significant other, whatever, that's literally doing film breakdown with you, that means that they're a dedicated person in your life, and you should never let them go. That's what that means.
Yeah, she's a keeper.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, all right. 5-second warning. All right. 5 seconds is up, and well, it really just makes the Rhodes call just even more heartbreaking. So, Rhodey goes in with the strategy of, the original plan was the pressure. He just wanted to bring the pressure. Khan wanted to establish dominance very early on, but it's Rhodey who showed dominance early on. Throws a 1-2, and then goes in for the takedown, gets it. Khan gets to his feet, but they're moving around the cage. Khan is grabbing the fence, and I'm thinking, Zan, originally I'm thinking, oh my god, imagine he goes for a takedown and stops it because of a fence grab. And fence grabs are just a really big controversial point
They
in a
really
lot of
they,
in the real MMA fights.
they
As
really
of
are.
late.
They really
Uh,
are.
and I'm thinking, oh my god, imagine if Khan gets deducted a point here or something. But no. So they go to the ground again, but Rhodey leaves his neck wide open, and Khan, in such a quick fashion, I didn't even see it until it was already locked in a guillotine choke, and got a submission. It was 30 seconds, the whole
Sh-
fight.
shocking. Shocking stuff. Disappointing for Rody Roots, but man, I told you that Con Offley was going to be a dark horse at the beginning of the season. I didn't
Yeah,
know that he would do it in this fashion, but
no,
he's something special, and he capitalized on an opportunity with flying colors and then a little bit more. And I think Rhodes instantly knew what he did was obviously what cost him the fight. But just to make mention of this because he was so down on himself, to me, he has nothing to be ashamed of.
he was dominating the first 20 seconds of the fight, and he got caught. And we already said it a few times this season. Sometimes it's one mistake is all it takes.
Yeah, 100%. But I do think in reality, though, I'm gonna have to disagree with Valentin here. I thought that the Con Offley was the better fighter going in, which is one of the reasons why I took him in this fight, just because I thought his pedigree was a little bit better, and I actually thought he had a better preliminary fight than Rhodes did. But I mean, I think both of these guys are UFC caliber. I think that Oates is gonna be okay. I'm hoping he gets at least one prelim fight here soon, whether it's on the finale or whether it's on a different card, because I think he
Mhm.
deserves a real UFC opportunity to show what he can do. And I'm sure you
I
probably
hope
agree.
he does. Especially after his story and his family call. I hope he does.
Yeah,
Because
I
he
think
looked
so.
so good in his first fight. And he was looking good here until that one mistake.
I know.
So
I know.
Khan advances. Again, the situation with Zig, we have no idea at this point as to what's going on. So the assumption is Khan will face either Zig or Myron Santos in the finale. But again, that's pending everything, in next week's episode of Tough goes on that Zig gets cleared and that fight does happen, because If it doesn't, everything becomes a big question mark.
Right, everything becomes a big question mark. And for those of you who were paying attention to our semifinal and final picks, if anything rational changes, we will repick accordingly if that happens to be the case. So
absolutely. But let's talk about next week, because next week we have a all Grasso affair when Robert Valentin takes on Patty McGorry, and the winner faces Team Shevchenko's Ryan Loader in the finale at middleweight. So, Zan, this should be fun. Alexa's heartbroken, but this is going to be fun. This might end up being violent, and I can't wait for it.
yeah, I think it's going to be a 3-round slugfest. What do you think?
I think 3-round slugfest really, sums it all up. I think this is going to be brutal. Who are you going to pick? Because I'm still searching for my first semifinal pick victory, and I'm putting all my faith that Robert is going to give me it. Give me Robert.
So in case you forgot, although I will just say it again, I am 2 for 2, and so far I hope to be 3 for 3 because I'm picking McCrory to take on Loader in the finale. So
you really want me to go winless because I'm taking Valentin.
It'll be a good fight. I just know it's going to be very similar to Rhodes versus Offley, where if one guy makes a mistake, they'll probably lose. So
yeah.
But I think though if Valentin takes it to the ground, it's very interesting. If he's standing, I think McCrory will try to put him right where he wants him. I think it's a striker versus grappler matchup, to be quite honest with you.
Do you think McCrory's going to get a finish, or is this going the distance?
No, I think it'll go 15 minutes and it'll be by split. I think it'll be a very controversial decision.
I think this fight's going to end in the third round in some way. Either Valentin's going to get a TKO or they're going to go a full 15 minutes.
It'll be interesting, but I'm going to be very excited to cover it with you next week. We're slowly but surely moving through the semifinals. That's going to do it for another edition of Tough Enough, the Ultimate Fighter Season 32, Team Grasso versus Team Shevchenko Aftermath, now official for UFC 306 Riyadh Season, Noche UFC 2, whatever you want to call it. It's finally done. We don't have to hear about whether or not the trilogy is happening anymore, because it is. It's good to see they did the face-off in front of the Sphere. It's going to be a good fight. But speaking of that fight and speaking of all of this content and so much more, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the Empty Bench Podcast Network, as we are slowly but surely approaching 1,000 subscribers, just past the 800 subscriber mark a little while ago. So we would really appreciate it, whether you like this show, whether you like my show, Bando's Breakdowns, that airs on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Pacific. You can catch episode 16 tomorrow when that drops. There was a lot of fun stuff there. And, we could also catch all of the other shows, including Puncher's Chance, Game Changers, so much more. So, but be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Be sure to listen to, not really this show as much, but be sure to listen to the MMA Outsiders wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Acast, so much more. And then, of course, if you are listening to the MMA Outsiders, or flagship show here on the network, be sure to do the inverse and go to youtube.com/ETB Network. Anything else you'd like to add besides playback? Of course, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no. Shout out to our friends at Playback. We'll get you information on the next week's MMA Outsiders. This to win fight study is going to happen next week, but that should be fun. But I think that's going to do it. So for Zan and Tom, we'll see you next week for the second to last edition of Tough Enough for this year. Take care, everyone.
Take care. We'll see you guys then. Enjoy your weekend and try to enjoy UFC Vegas 95. But I don't know if we could really always say that. But I guess enjoy another dose of the Apex, if you will.
Zan, this was the first week where I couldn't go Apex happily.
No, it's true. Good point.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one, everyone.